What is it with Bridgerton boys and fingers? Listen, I've given you the full weekend to be at peace, but did you really think we weren't going to talk about Bridgerton season 4? You know the drill. Grab your drink, settle in. It is time for a savvy debrief. Coming out of last season, I had two really big pet peeves: the whistle down voiceovers and dialogue. And what I mean specifically, the whistle down dialogue should add to the story, it shouldn't take away from the emotional experience. In previous seasons, it helped to enhance the story, it helped to build the tension. There's been several points, and it was the thing that made me so angry last season, where it takes out of the option to sit emotionally with the character, or editing wise, it's just louder than the other dialogue. So it even more jarring kind of coming out of the scene. It feels like you're leaning less into what's happening in the story because it's either a distraction, it's taking away from things. It just feels a little bit ego driven to me. It feels like a writer's sense of control rather than something that is cohesively adding to and pushing a better version of the story. And then dialogue wise, we're still not getting anything near Burn for You and Bane of My Existence, Object of All of My Desires. I could not get over the stairwell scene, partly because it just felt like you knew the energy that was meant to go there. The dialogue, the words, the beauty, and the language does not match it. Also, that scene just felt way too dialogue similar to the Colin and Penelope carriage scene. Sat there thinking it should be better. It should sound better. This should sound more eloquent. There should be so much more beauty in the language of this, even more so in season 3, partly because in season 3, if Colin's a writer, he's going to sound smarter, he is going to have more vocabulary, he is not going to sound simplistic. There should be more beauty in what he is saying. Both of those carried over, and they are kind of my biggest nitpicks for season 4. The other thing with season 4, and I really love it, I think this is the first season that we've gotten that's actually felt romantic, because every other season so far has either been the girl has kind of felt pushed away, there wasn't that sense of like, oh, I like you and I'm interested in pursuing this thing. There's like a sense of ease in that side of their relationship, and it's something that I think we've been missing as far as all of the other seasons, because we're actually getting to watch them kind of dance around each other in a way that feels a little bit more kind of giddy. It's just really exciting to watch them flirt and kind of have permission to dance around these things a little bit, even though we've got the whole mistress side of things. The mistress and the Cinderella story were kind of my biggest pet peeves about book 4 in general, and I think some of the things that I didn't like about it, to some degree, I didn't understand the context for it, and then having more of that information kind of coming into the season, I felt better about it. I did go look at the book because I couldn't remember the stepmother of it all. I knew that there were certain things, and they're obviously planting the seeds for there to be more to that story, but I had to go and look and see, okay, what are the final things that push everything over the edge? What are the like details that I'm missing? I do feel really torn on the Francesca of it all, because I know that for some of my friends that's their favorite book of the series, and I also just feel like there's certain things that we might not get to see when it comes to her story. I'm very conflicted. I appreciate the fact that we're telling this story the way that we're telling it within the context of their dynamic, because that isn't an uncommon version of a relationship. I very much appreciate that, but I still don't know how I feel about the Michaela of it all, and kind of bringing all of that in now, and the ways in which it feels like it's undermining this other relationship. I get that we're telling a story that maybe I haven't experienced, and so I'm very much just open to kind of understanding somebody else's perspective in it, but for the sake of the people who I know really like their story, I am a little disheartened because I feel like that's one that they're gonna feel really robbed of. I don't think that I realized until Hyacinth called her out on it that we never really dealt with Eloise's self-awareness or kind of just self-centeredness, and it was very much that callback to season 1, because there's that moment between Penelope and Eloise where Penelope has so much going on and she can't tell anybody yet, and Eloise is so concentrated on everything else, and in a lot of ways Eloise's life has seemed really easy. She feels like she has all of these choices, and that's fine, but it was a nice reminder that she hasn't actually dealt with these things. We've seen her shift in her dynamic with Penelope and understand and respect things differently, but she hasn't actually changed. The sense that she's constantly fighting to have permission to be this version of herself, but also that she's insecure in it so much that she's not able to appreciate anybody else's version of something. It's just that constant kind of push and pull of things, and so Hyacinth calling her out felt like a moment. I do hope and I suspect that likely we get Eloise's season next, but that means we're gonna have to, if we're following books here, bring back the Marina and Sir Philip Crane of it all, and I'm kind of intrigued slash terrified of how they choose to do that in the story. At some point in time, we attempted to count the number of times somebody said apologies, and I just want to know, who was editing the first few scripts and why we didn't decide that that was a word that we could have done differently. You can see that it kind of flipped once we got to maybe script 3, but it was so many times, like a stupid amount of times. And then the other side of that, it just felt like everybody was working out some abandonment issues this season. I really appreciate a lot of the stories that are happening with the older women in the show this season. And I think that that's something that I've wanted to see for a while, and it's felt a lot more grounded to me. I think those scenes are really beautiful. The moment between Agatha and the Queen, where she's just breaking down about everything, that was so authentic. Violet, I'm the tea, you'll be eating Bridgerton is just my new favorite queen. That scene alone, the journey there, watching her kind of question it, kind of coming to terms with it. I appreciate all of these things that we're doing for these side stories, but it does feel like we're working out some abandonment things happening behind the scenes. It did feel like last season they threw everything in the kitchen sink at it in a way that just overwhelmed. It didn't give us the opportunity to appreciate the subtlety in things, and this year they've kind of toned that down a bit, especially when it comes to diversity. I am all for it, but I think that you don't actually get to appreciate a character who is not what you would always see in a more extensive role when it just feels like you're trying to fit everybody in. And obviously Hazel is that character this season, because I don't want those characters to feel like they're throwaways. I want there to be a deeper appreciation for who they are and how they might have lived in that time and what it meant for them to exist, and just let us see them interact with people and it be easy and wonderful and joyous and just a more extended representation than those throwaway moments. But keeping all of that in mind, going into this season, I've already said that I wasn't going to have any high hopes for things. We have back half of the season and I'm interested to see how that all plays out, but I really feel even more pissed about season 3 watching season 4. Colin feels like a throwaway character. Like he's just occasionally there for a brief snippet of things, and it doesn't fix the issues that I've had previously. It doesn't redeem what we've gone through before. If anything, it makes me even angrier about what's happened previously. And it also, given how we're kind of telling Benedict's story, it feels like we could have done something different with him last season if we needed to let him have that space to explore. All in all, I think that season 4 is my favorite so far. Don't hold me to that. I still am very frustrated with certain things, but in the grand scheme of like all of the season we've lined up so far, season 4 is kind of winning it for me, because I want like a nice happy love story. I'm tired of everybody fighting. Like, happy to go along this journey of the tension, of them trying to figure it out, of the dynamics feeling challenging, of the working through the things. Like, I'm all for that. But previous kind of stupidity, we have a new level of stupidity because obviously Benedict can't tell who she is yet, and everybody in my family is like yelling at the TV about it. But this so far is probably going to be my favorite season of Bridgerton until we get to Eloise and then Hyacinth and Gregory. I know I'm just